All right. So with this Soto money and the Otani contract, everything the Dodgers are doing, the unlimited payroll that Cohen has, and all of this, how long will the next lockout be, Harrison? Will owners want a salary cap? Is the first question I'm going to ask you.
Yes, I think that I think this next negotiation is going to be a lot more contentious because you have, as we said last week, you have probably half the league who's not even in on free agents anymore. They're out. They cannot possibly fathom signing these contracts. I mean, the contract that Juan Soto just signed, he'll have a higher net worth than 5 or 6 of the owners will.
Right.
Um, like this went baseball went from a relatively controlled economic platform with longtime owners to just an explosion of money that is pushing a lot of those owners out and just bringing in a whole different set of billionaires who are just not afraid to throw money at it. Um, I think that a certain number of owners are going to be basically saying, if you don't put a salary cap in place, I got to sell because I can't stay in the game,
Yeah.
and it would not be good. It would devalue teams if you all of a sudden had like 5 or 6 owners had to sell. I
Yeah.
mean, we're already seeing that the Twins are on the market for that reason. They can't keep up. You're going to see other teams hit the market too because ownership just can't. They can't keep up with the pace of what's happening right now.
Yeah. So I agree. I think the owners are going to push hard for a salary cap. But then the second question that I have, will the MLBPA allow that? I think this is where the contention is going to come and the
Yep.
lockout is going to be, we're going to be in for the long haul because I don't see the MLBPA giving in on that, feeling like no, like our players are the highest paid in professional sports, maybe even in the world at this point. I mean, they got to be starting to rival soccer at this point
Yeah.
with that contract. I mean, maybe not. I know nothing about soccer. Disclaimer.
So
But
soccer's berserk. The money's even crazier,
yeah,
but it's all at the
so
top. Like
right,
it's like a dozen players make like 80% of all the salary in the entire league.
yeah. So will the MLBPA push back and not allow that? That's where I see this lockout really dragging out. And this isn't for what, 2026, after the
Yeah,
2026 season?
you're still a couple
Is
years out.
yeah.
But I think the
Um,
the only way you get MLBPA to buy off on the salary cap, because you're right, they'll never agree to it. The only way to get a salary cap in place is to counter that with a salary floor. But what you have to show the Players Association is that the total money available, the total pie to the players is the same as it was.
right.
Because when people hear salary cap, you think, oh man, you're going to stop the spending, so you're limiting how much of that pie these players get. Well, no, if you put a cap at the top and a floor at the bottom to make other teams spend more, well, the big teams spend less, and you can offset the two. You can show the fact that there's the same amount of dollars available to players
Right.
because the Oakland Athletics can't have a $50 million payroll anymore.
Well, they don't,
They
but
don't anymore, but but you can't have 4 or 5 teams, spending 40 or 50 million bucks on players. The irony of it is, one of the teams that's an offender of that is the Orioles because they've got all that young talent. Um, but if the only way to make that work is to be able to show the fact that you're not going to cut into the players pool at all. And if you can show that, MLBPA is going to have a really tough time making that argument and not looking like fools to the public.
yeah. So this last question before we move on, do you think both sides like where these contracts are at this point?
No, no, I think this is a nightmare for MLB because you have, as great as it is for the health of the game and all that stuff and the headlines. I mean, nothing better for baseball than the headlines of Otani and the Soto chase. And this is like
Right.
going back to the days of NBA with LeBron's whole where is he going to take his talents nonsense too. This is great on one hand for MLB. It's great for the Players Association. It's great on one hand for MLB because of the attention that it's drawing. It's bad for MLB because you're taking the parity you've created and beginning just to push it again. And you can't have half of your teams go into the offseason and sit on their hands.
Yeah.
And that's what you have. Right now, you've got 17 teams have signed 0 free agents right now. They're not even participating in the offseason.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I said it last week. Like they're not even going into the office every day because they're
Uh,
like, there's no point.
Why?